Episode 2. Perv. Fred Fendon had woken up a little early, so he was driving through his favorite suburban neighborhood ahead of schedule. Birds were chirping. The sky was clear. It was going to be a great day for Fred, he just knew it. Perhaps at this early hour, he'd get lucky and find some hot young number on her way to school or out for a jog. He preferred the ones on their way to school, but he wouldn't complain if he got someone a little older. As long as she was only a little older. He steered his mom's big old Oldsmobile round a corner, and he spotted a curly head of hair and a tight round ass in the distance. The girl wore a backpack too. It was a generic one. No cartoon characters or silly hearts. So she probably wasn't exactly in his wheelhouse, age-wise. But you can't have everything. Meanwhile, Gia stared at the sidewalk before her as she walked. She usually thought about one thing on her walks home from work. Who was she? And not just in the Sartrean existential sense. Gia literally did not know who she was before 6 months ago. She was an amnesiac. She could only remember roughly the last 6 months of her life. None of those 6 months involved parents or siblings or friends or school or any activities that could tie her to a normal previous life. Truth be told, the place where she woke up was the worst place she could remember in her short memory. A terrible place she did not like to think about and was very happy she was able to escape. She had managed to assimilate to the world in which she now found herself. Thanks to some good fortune, she was able to cobble together a phony identity. She had a birth certificate, a social security number, and a credit card, all belonging to a Gia Rimbaldi. Someone she never met. Someone who may not even exist. Every once in a while on these walks, she would try to reach back behind that dark curtain in her mind. She would try to find any kind of a memory of before the terrible place. A memory of being a small child. A memory of a parent or a friend or a neighbor. A memory of home. The car horn blast startled her. But Gia kept her eyes on the sidewalk in front of her. She had learned never to respond to car horns. Usually the driver would lose interest and drive on anyway. No such luck this morning. "Excuse me," a man's voice chimed from the car riding alongside her. "Have you seen a golden retriever in your travels? She got out this morning, and I've been looking for her everywhere. She can't have gotten far." Oh no, not the lost dog guy, Gia thought. Gia had overheard some neighborhood girls talking about him. As predatory as they get. Somebody tried to report him once, and the cops just laughed at her. "Keep driving, perv," Gia shouted forcefully, not taking her eyes off the sidewalk. Perv. Well, that wasn't very nice, Fred thought. Well, that wasn't very nice, Fred said. He couldn't take his eyes off the girl. He could see her face now in all its adorable innocence. And that body. An almost perfect body. Small tits, pronounced ass. Long legs on the thick side. The arms were also thick. Really thick. Too thick for his taste, especially in that tight-knit shirt. Jesus, he thought, she could probably win money arm wrestling truckers with those biceps. He started sprouting a boner. Guess the arms were a turn-on too, he had to admit to himself. "It's okay, honey," he continued. "I understand your suspicion, but I'm not a perv. I just need to find my dog. She answers to Libby. Have you seen her? Look, you are not getting me in your car, perv. I told you to keep driving," Gia repeated. Wow, the audacity on this firecracker. It only made him harder though. Freddy boy liked them feisty. "Oh come on, I'm being really nice here," he said. Gia did not answer. The guy finally asked, "Geez, didn't anybody teach you manners?" The man's words actually struck her. Who would have taught her manners? It would have happened long before the last 6 months. A mom or a dad, or an older brother or sister or an aunt or an uncle. Maybe a babysitter or a teacher. It takes a village. She breathed a sigh of relief as the car finally drove on. Thank goodness, Gia thought. Then let out an exasperated groan as the car pulled up onto the sidewalk just ahead. Right in her path. It was a huge boat of a car, a dinosaur from eons ago. The driver got out of the car and started toward her. He was a lumberjack-looking dude. Beard, flannel shirt, khakis, boots. "Look," I'm sorry we got off on the wrong foot, the driver said, assuming a blocking stance, legs wide, arms out. Let me drive you home at least, save you a few steps. Least I can do. The least you can do, Gia said without slowing, is get the fuck out of my way, you goddamn perv. Okay, I've been nice so far, he changed his tone as she closed in on him, but I do not appreciate you constantly calling me a perv. Then do not constantly act like one, Gia shot back. I know all about you, dogman. Girls talk. This seemed to alarm the man slightly, as if he wasn't expecting a reputation to precede him. At about 4 feet, Gia began to sidestep him. Look, I don't know who you've been talking to, the man said, but girls can lie too. Keeping her eyes on the sidewalk, Gia walked around the man and was about to walk around his giant car too. Come on, honey. Look at me, the man said as he reached out and grabbed her shoulder, intending to turn her around. Hey, I'm talking to you. Instead, Gia whirled herself around, using the momentum to hurl her balled fist straight into the man's gut. The thud was loud. Bare knuckles pounded deep into Fred's abdomen flesh. Her punch went so far back it nearly hit his spine. Seeing stars, the wind knocked out of him, the man felt his knees begin to buckle. Over the sound of her footsteps, the girl saying, "I'm not your honey," was the last thing Fred Fendon heard before blacking out. Fred awoke to gentle slaps on his cheek. Hey buddy, the elderly gentleman's voice seemed to bring him closer to consciousness. You still alive or what? Fred opened his eyes to a puke-covered sidewalk. He was lying on his side. Then he peered up at the wizened features of the elderly gentleman who just awoken him. There he is, the elderly gent went on. What happened to you? Fred started to get up. The ensuing pain in his abdomen was overwhelming. He had to take it slow. Also, he didn't like the temperature but couldn't tell if it was because it was too hot or too cold. And as if that wasn't enough, his shirt fit funny now. Something was really wrong. The elderly gent helped Fred to his feet as much as he could, which wasn't much. It's a good thing you were on your side when you threw up, the elderly gent offered. Or you'd have choked to death on it. What did you have for breakfast? Scrambled eggs and hot sauce. Standing up now, Fred attempted to fix his shirt, looking down at the red-tinted puke. Fred said, "Just scrambled eggs." Oops, the elderly gent said. That might be blood. Hey, give me your cell phone, I'll call 911 for you. That's okay. Must be something I ate, Fred managed to utter, thick strands of saliva pouring from his mouth. What did you eat? The elderly gent said, pointing at Fred's gut. A frickin' bowling ball? Fred looked down and saw why his shirt didn't fit right anymore. His stomach had swollen considerably. He touched it and pushed a little. He winced in excruciating pain. This was all wrong. How hard did that little cunt hit him? Your car was running when I came out, the elderly gent announced. I took the liberty of turning it off. Safety first, you know. Anywho, I saw a little doctor's bag with a needle and some vials in it. Buddy, do you got allergies you should be tending to? Fred Fendon glared at the elderly gent. He wanted to say mind your own business but held back. Instead, Fred said, I'll be fine thank you, and wished to himself the elderly gent would just leave already. Fred dizzily turned to get back into his car. Oopsie, he heard the elderly gent say. You're bleeding from both ends, buddy. There's a red streak running down your crack. Fred Fendon checked his rear in the side view mirror. Sure enough, a long stain of brownish red now ran along the inseam of his khakis. This was worse than he thought. A lot worse. You sure you don't want me to call 911? The elderly gentleman said. Yes, I'm sure I don't want you to call fucking 911. Fred suddenly barked, spitting long ropes of drool at the elderly gent. The yelling made him even more light-headed. Out of nowhere his heart began to jackhammer. Fred rubbed his chest. It was like someone was playing bongos in there. Sorry, buddy, the elderly gentleman said. Actually, I'm sorry. I appreciate your help, Fred managed, attempting to maintain, but I've got to move my car now. As long as you're moving it to the nearest emergency room, the elderly gent quipped. Fred Fendon gave a half-hearted wave and got in his car. He started the engine and backed up slowly. He would have to do everything slowly for the time being. He got the Oldsmobile back on the street and drove away. As he drove, he tried to spot that little cunt walking home. But she was long gone at this point. Driving was tough. Copious amounts of sweat kept running into his eyes from his forehead, blinding him. And when that wasn't happening, his vision would double every minute or two. The nearest hospital was only a few miles away. He could make it if he took it slow. He pulled in deep breaths. Well, as deep as he could get them before his stomach protested, stifling him. But the deep breathing helped a little. He heard a little pop and saw one of his shirt buttons hit the steering wheel. He looked down, and sure enough, his distended abdomen was even bigger. It was inflating like a balloon. Okay. He would get to the hospital in like 2 minutes and everything would be fine. First things first. He had to hide his doctor's bag again. The one with the allergy medicine, the elderly gent saw. He grabbed the bag and threw it back in his glove compartment. He rolled the tumblers on its combination lock. That little cunt called him Dogman. It was a sobering moment. His cover was blown. He was going to have to find a new story if he wanted to keep trolling for pussy in that neighborhood. Fighting the debilitating ache in his gut, he pulled out his cell phone and called his mother, hitting speakerphone. "Freddy boy," came his mother's shrill, grating voice. It was bad enough when he was healthy. Now it was like an out-of-tune violin being played against his eardrum. "You're on speakerphone, Mom," Fred chided. "I'm sorry," his mother cleared her throat, subduing herself. "What can I do for you, Fred?" "I won't be tutoring any students in the living room today," he said. "You can go back upstairs." "Oh, saints be praised," she said. "It's so damp down here I don't know how you manage." "Okay, Mom," Fred said, exasperated. "Love you, I'll see you at dinner." "Are you all right? You sound a little out of it," his mother queried. His heart started doing a tap dance in his head. Da-dump, da-dump, da-dump. "I don't think I got enough sleep last night," Fred managed, trying to focus. "Anyway, I'll try to get a nap in today. See you at dinner, okay? We're having meatloaf and spud nuggets, your favorite," she sang. Yup, love you, bye," Fred said and hung up. He was proud of his performance. Just as Fred spotted the hospital parking lot, his bowels erupted and he immediately shit himself. A split second later, he heaved up more blood. This blood was darker than before, though. He smelled the vomit and almost vomited some more at the stench. Da-dump, 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 da-dump. He was at the emergency room entrance now. It was getting tougher to breathe. The sound of his heart, the thumping in his ears, had become deafening. He pulled right up front and got out of the car as quickly as he could, which wasn't very quick. For the first time, Fred Fendon asked himself if he was about to die. From a gut punch some little cunt gave him? A security guard was already striding up. "Hey, you can't park here," the guard said. Then she caught an eyeful of the pale, sweaty man's condition. The belabored breathing. The blood. The extremely swollen belly, which had broken several buttons on his shirt, revealing black and blue skin underneath. "Oh shit," the guard said, rushing up to help the man, in spite of the sickening smell coming off him. Inside the waiting area, an admitting nurse who cringed at his foul odor joined the security guard, helping the man to the emergency room. Every person in the waiting room recoiled at the sight of the sweat-drenched man, his full-term black and blue belly poking out of the bloody flannel shirt, the shit-stained khakis. One dude with a nail in his forehead looked concerned. "I hope that guy's gonna be okay," the man with the nail in his forehead muttered. Fred's tortured bowels wrenched inside him once again. This heave was coming from way down deep. Almost at the doors to the ER now, Fred's body convulsed as he opened his mouth and heaved up a torrent of projectile vomit. Heave. Ho. It was rust-colored with darker chunks in it. It landed on a row of people waiting nearest to the ER door. They all shrieked in horror. Then in stomach-churning disgust, they began to gag at the vomit's odor. A woman in a miniskirt with an ice pack between her spread legs was now covered with the rusty, dark chunked vomit. She gagged and said, "That guy is shitting out his mouth."